Dude. Stream Deck, analyzer, fucking moderator stance, sound filter, 6 monitors, pedals, drums, gaming guitar controllers, 6 consoles, 10 computers, bunch of fucking wires, sound pads, speakers, antenna, satellite, dog cam, cat tree, cat this, and a bunch of dogs, dude, right? Don't think they're ready to fucking analyze NASA's landing speed, dude.
This is a pretty beastly gaming setup. I mean, this all-white gaming PC, 1440p, 12600K RTX 3080. We built a gaming setup around it with a gaming monitor, a mouse, and a keyboard a week ago. But how do you turn a gaming setup into a streaming setup because you want to be the next Pokemon? Let's start. Step 1 is definitely the audio, because good audio is way more important than good video. People can forgive low res or poor quality video, but bad audio is jarring, annoying, and triggers people. And unless you're Tyler One, who has bad audio as part of his brand, all of us need good audio, except that guy. That guy is built different. So let's talk about the mic that I chose. So this is the Studio Projects C1, and I love this mic because it just sounds good. Apparently it's a Neumann clone, but I have no comments on that. I just think it looks good and it sounds pretty decent, and I got it for free because someone gave it to me. It's an XLR microphone, so you need a sound interface, more on that later. But as for mics that you should choose for Twitch streaming, you should go with an XLR system because it allows more flexibility and more quality in the long run. And also, you probably want a dynamic or condenser microphone system. I prefer condenser because I like how they sound, but they're pretty sensitive, so you want to put them on some sort of shock mount and some sort of boom arm so that it's isolated for any vibrations so it doesn't shake and sound terrible. I also got a pop filter on here to prevent the plosives from causing the sound to peak and basically explode in terms of levels. Now, the problem with XLR microphones is that they don't connect directly to your PC, and you need something like this, which is an audio interface. This is the Techstar SCM1, and it's a device that has thoroughly impressed me. It's only $100 for one, which is substantially cheaper than many of the fancy streaming focused audio interfaces, but at the same time, it's really feature packed. It's got a soundboard with a lot of built-in sounds, and you can also customize whatever sound you have in there. It's got a lot of built-in effects, making you can pitch up your voice to sound like a woman or pitch down your voice to sound like a man. And it even has auto-tune built in, so if you want to try sounding like Travis Scott, you can, which is quite impressive. On top of that, it's got a lot of different ports, from line-ins for different mics, headphones, music, or even your iPhone, iPad, which is super convenient if you're trying to do some mobile streaming. And also it has a mini XLR port, which is the most important thing right here for us to plug our microphone into, which is essential. Now this has 48 volt phantom power, wired for something like the Studio Condenser C1 we have here, because, well, it needs power. It's not a powered mic, so you need to deliver power through XLR, and this provides that, which is very nice. And as far as I can tell, the sound quality is pretty decent. I'm not gonna act like an expert here and say that it sounds amazing, but it definitely sounds pretty good, and it's comparable to your Scarlett audio interfaces, no problem for sure. And the craziest thing about this device for me is that with all these features and only costing $100, it's also battery powered. If you need this to be in any sort of portable setup, you can actually use it on the go without having it plugged in, which is super convenient. But if it was me, I'll probably just use this device permanently plugged in via USB, which is a lot more convenient. So we're gonna connect it. Unfortunately though, it is micro USB, but it does so much that I'm not gonna be mad at it for being micro USB. I think it more than makes up for it in terms of pure value. So here's a quick sound test of how the sound system sounds. Play it. So this is a sound test, testing 1, 2, 3. So this is a sound test. Later there will be a full-on stream test with webcam and cameras and stuff. But the problem is I kind of didn't set the audio up properly on those streams. So ignore the audio quality on those streams. And those are really for a visual test. This is just the audio test. If you set things up properly, instead of being an idiot like me, it's supposed to sound as good as this. Step 2 is getting a camera. We've done audio, it's time for video. You want to show your face because that way you can build a relationship with your viewers, so they're more likely to come back, because it's all about that parasocial relationship. But if you want to be a VTuber or faceless streamer, that's also fine. It's up to you. But if you are looking to do a video stream with a camera, then this is probably the most simplest option, especially for beginners, which is a simple webcam. Now you have plenty of options here. This is the Logitech C920. It's a classic webcam, but there are a lot of other options as well. I've got this 1440p Tech Gear one, which has a light built in, which you can check out. It also looks pretty decent. These are both decent options. It's not going to give you great image quality, but in terms of convenience, ease of use, simplicity, and the ability to kind of just cable manage it and tuck it away, a webcam like this, a simple webcam like this, is good enough. Also, it has built the careers of many people, from XQC to Pokemon to Tyler One, so it's going to get the job done, no problem. As long as your content is good, it's going to be good. Another option for camera is to ball out and do some fancy stuff. stuff. So this is the Sony ZV-E10. Another option for cameras is to ball out and do some fancy stuff. So this is the Sony ZV-E10. Now I hate this camera for like vlogging, moving stuff because it has terrible rolling shutter. But if you're trying to get some stationary camera work, this thing does really, really well. Now what I've done here is I mounted it on a top-down boom arm. This is a pretty expensive thing to do because this camera is not cheap. This lens, the Sigma 1850 f2.8, is not cheap. The boom arm is also not cheap, but it's just something that you can do. I have a dummy battery in it, so I don't ever have to swap out batteries, and I have it kind of outputting video through this micro HDMI cable into a capture card. More on that in a bit. So the reason I have it on a top-down boom arm camera here, instead of using it as my face cam, is number one, nobody really wants to see my face in that high resolution, and number two, a camera like this will be excellent for something like a handicraft. I'm thinking, hey, if I were to be a streamer, what kind of streamer will I be? I'll probably be a keyboard building streamer. So having a top-down camera to focus on what I'm doing with my keyboard build probably makes a lot of sense for me. So set up your cameras however you want it. Just make sure it makes sense for you. So how do we get this footage from this camera through its clean HDMI output? It's very important to choose a camera with a clean HDMI output into our computer. Well, we use a little capture card right here. Now everyone knows about this. This is like a $10, $15 capture card from China. It's USB 2.0, it's HDMI port on the other end. You put it in your computer, the HDMI cable goes into it, and that's it. It shows up instantly as a webcam in your computer, and you just kind of sync it up in OBS or whatever streaming software you're using. It's super simple, and that's why I absolutely love this device. You've got fancier capture card options like the Elgato Streamlink or whatever, but honestly, you don't need that because you have to deal with Elgato's annoying software and everything. It does have some features that this might not have because this is so bare bones and simple, but at the end of the day, those are not really features you need. I just love the simplicity of this thing. Also, it's cheaper. Now, the next step right now is to add a second monitor like this right here. You don't need a fancy second monitor. Your secondary monitor is only there so you can read your stream chat, you manage your stream things, or maybe manage the Spotify playlist that's playing the music in the background, or so you can, you know, kind of just read things and stuff, whatnot. Basically, anything you don't want your main stream to see, you can just put it on your second monitor. It's pretty much a must-have for streaming these days. If you don't have a second monitor, you can't see your Twitch chat, and that is going to hurt your engagement for sure. You don't need a fancy one. You can get a second-hand, just 1080p simple monitor. I've had this monitor for 6 years now, and it's become like a permanent second monitor for me no matter what setup I use. It's really nice. Some people actually mount it on like a desk mount and have it like vertically mounted, so they have it like this, which is also something you can do, so up to you. Keep it simple, don't worry too much about it. The next step is to improve your lighting. Now, you can have the best camera in the world, but if your lighting is bad, your image probably is going to be pretty crap. There are a lot of things you can do here. You can have your setup near some windows and have the curtains open so you can use natural light, although the lighting won't be as consistent. You can use some of your standard room lamps like this to add some ambience, or even use it to light your face. If you know what you're doing, there are plenty of lighting tutorials out there. Or you can go and get some cheap, simple LED lamps to light your setup, light your face, that kind of thing. Like this. This one's pretty bright, but you get the idea. Now, in terms of recommendations for the light, my favorite for lighting setups, or at least cheap LED panels for streaming and kind of these kind of stationary setups, is to get something like the Viltrox VL300T or VL500T, because these have like diffusion built into them. So with very little work, with very little diffusion, you get a very soft light source that won't make your skin look terrible because it's so contrasty. Another thing you can do is you can get a very bright light source and just bounce it off a nice white wall in your house, or just bounce it off a wall to have it kind of be a natural room diffusion, which is actually how I'm lighting this shot right now. Chico. And finally, it's software time. Now, for me, the best software for streaming is definitely OBS. It's a lot more complicated, I think, than Streamlabs or something, but it definitely has more flexibility. It's easier to run, less intensive of your system. Now, if you want more advanced stream setup tips, especially in the software department, if you're trying to do graphics and stuff, this is actually where my knowledge falls flat. So all humility here. Go check out some tutorials from excellent channels like Epos Vox, who in my opinion is like the best source for streaming info on YouTube, and you are going to do great. So all the best. This is a pretty sick streaming setup. Here's how the stream looks. Here's how the stream operates. I think it's pretty good. Pretty happy with it. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Subscribe. I'm not gonna actually stream, by the way. I can't be bothered. Bye. Wow. Why is my RTX 3080 struggling to play a video while I stream? That is actually worrying. I think it's because I'm not using NVIDIA. These are all like pre-installed effects which you don't have to use. You can actually customize it, which is awesome. And then you also got the auto-tune feature, so I can sound like Travis Scott.